Alright, in this video we're going to go through a fast approach to creating a light map for your objects inside of Unity using the new Beast Lightmapping system. So let's first go up to Window, down to Lightmapping. Let's add this and dock it into our workspace, which is the Beast Lightmapping interface. We're going to use this a lot. Next thing we're going to do is I already have my files imported in, but I haven't brought them into the scene, so I'll do that now. Grab it, drop it in. There we go. As you can see, I already have a camera and a point light on the object. Now this file here has two object sets, which are identical at this time, and the purpose for that is to show you how to do multiple groups at the same time. But for now, we're just going to work with the one set, so I'm going to turn the second set off. And I'll go back to the source file here and look at its import settings, because immediately I can see that I have smoothing errors. Right now, my imported FBX file doesn't support smoothing groups, so I need to fix this. Otherwise, my light maps are going to look horrible each and every time. So the first thing I'll do is I'll come down to normals, and it's set to import at default. I'm going to say calculate it, and default smoothing angle is 60. That'll work just fine. It'll make sure that the edges for the boxes are hard edged and the sphere is nice and smooth. So I'll click apply, and there we go. So that fixed that up straight away. The next thing to consider is, did you make UVs for this object group, or do you want Unity to make them? Now, I've already created UVs for these, or actually the 3D app that I built them in did it automatically, so I don't have to duplicate the UVs or make new ones. But if you didn't have any UVs, and the only way the light mapping is going to work is with a UV set, so you can come here and you can say generate light map UVs and check that box and then click apply, and Unity will automatically build you a UV library for yourself. And in fact, I'll just do that. I'll just check that, click apply, and it takes a few seconds, and done. Alright, moving on. Next, we're going to want to cast some shadows. We want this light to cast some shadows on these objects here. So select the light, go to its inspector property, and let's go to the shadow type and say hard shadows. Now, this little error message popped up saying that only a directional light can have shadows in forward rendering. That is true. Why is that true? Because if I go to Edit, Property Settings, and Player, my current Unity project is set up at the default, which is forward lighting. Now, this was the previous method, but now with Unity 3 we have deferred lighting, which makes forward lighting and vertex lighting the fallbacks for lower machines. But I want to, I know that the machines that this is going to be deployed on are going to be deferred lighting, but in order for me to bake out my lights, or this particular light, which happens to be a point light, I need to switch into the new deferred lighting system. And straight away you can see that I now have the shadows operating for me from a point light, which is fantastic. So there we go. Okay, our little scene here with the four objects is ready to receive a light map. So with the point light still selected, I'm going to go to the light map tab, and in here we've got an option to render out real time. If I select that, the light mapping property is disabled, which is saying you're not going to be able to bake out any beast light mapping because this light is going to render the shadows real time all the time. That's not what I want. I want to bake a light map and then disable the light. And so that's what we'll work on first. This middle option here, which is auto, this simply says go ahead and bake out a light map for this object set, but when I'm up close, use real-time shadows for the rendering, but when I'm further away, use baking only. So the auto automatically swaps back and forth between real time for when you're up close and baked only for when you're far away. Now this always have to be predefined. Okay, and that's what we're about to do now. But for this purpose, this quick demonstration, we're just going to quickly bake out a light map only. So I'll select that, and you can see over here in the inspector at the bottom, we have the same options to select. So if something's not working the way it should, go ahead down here and check to see what you have automatically checked. Bake is selected. I'm going to reset these back to 0 shadow radius and samples right now to show you what we'll get when we bake out our generic objects. So make sure you select the object that you want to bake. Right now this object is not selected as static, and this was the error message you're going to get. Nothing to bake. Only static objects will be light mapped. Fix that problem real simple. Check the box here, which also is over here in the inspector. But since I know that object set 1 is going to be static and object set 2, which is hidden, is going to be static, I'll just go right to the parent, go over to the inspector, select that static box, say yep, change all the children underneath, which it did. Perfect. I won't have to worry about that ever again. So I believe we are all set up. All we have to do is come down here to the bake selected, press the button, and down here our status bar shows our progress. Great. There we have it. Our first light map inside of Unity 3 using the Beast lighting system. Very nice. And what it's done is it's baked the light from light source into these objects and then essentially disabled the light source. So I can go ahead to the point, I go over to the point light, turn it off, and you'll see that it's no longer being active. Right now the light map looks a little funny, and that's because it's currently being compressed. As soon as the baking process is done and the far light map and the near light map are completed, it automatically compresses. Go to the maps tab here and you can see your array maps. You can see the compressed button. Just disable that for right now, and then we can see our light map in its full glory. And that's not bad for our first light map. But let's go ahead and improve on this by smoothing out our shadow hard edge line here and then throwing in some global illumination if you have. So to do that, we will select the point light that we're using as our bake. Let's turn it back on. Right now we're going to leave it at bake only. We're going to leave the color. We could change it. We could just change it a little bit, give it a little tint of yellow. The intensity we'll leave at 1. Bounce intensity we'll leave at 1. Shadow we'll leave. We're going to come down to the shadow samples. And let's change this to 100. We'll give it 100 samples. And the shadow radius we're going to bump up to 0.5. So that's going to smooth out the shadow edges for us quite a bit. And then we'll go ahead and we'll hit bake. Oop, nothing to bake. Why? Got to select your object that you want to bake. There we go. Bake selected. Status bar down here shows us, a progress bar shows us what's going on. And this little info window here will pop up with the new time it took to bake and the size of the images that it's making. All right, that took 17 seconds and dramatically improved light map. Again, go to map tab. Oop, it's already uncompressed. Excellent. So here we have a new light map. We can automatically see we have a nice softer fall off around for the sphere and around the edges on the ground. And in general, this is a very good, decent light map. And it's producing a very nice soft result. So let's go ahead and improve on this even more. By selecting the object, go to the bake properties. Now let's introduce some global illumination. So with the Pro version, you can this will be enabled for you. So let's do a 0.5 for global illumination, and we're going to leave all the rest of the settings the way they are. You're free to play with them and get that final version that you know what you're looking for. I will change the ambient occlusion. I will add a little bit. Let's introduce about a 0.3. Now I'm just going to clear that out for fun. Object is selected that we want to bake, and then hit bake selected. And our status bar down here shows what's going on. This will take a little bit longer to bake out, probably in the range of a minute or so, because with the introduction of global illumination, it has a lot more calculations that it has to process, and also the inclusion of ambient occlusion. So there we go. Maps are being made. Go back to the map tab and let's uncompress it. And straight away we can see that this is even better than before, because now we've introduced a global lighting system that would most naturally be a part of our game. So that's a nice, quick, easy introduction to light mapping. Also to point out is that the Beast lighting system created this folder and has placed our light maps within it. That are objects, shaders are metadata. The metadata for the object shaders are connected to. So it's called Beast Light Mapping Demo in this project, but it will be called whatever your scene file is. So if your scene file has a different name, this folder will then be named after that scene file. So don't get confused that Beast Light Mapping is going to always, if you're looking for this folder and you're thinking, oh, it's got to be Beast, it's going to be Beast Light Mapping Demo. It's not. It's going to be whatever your scene name is. So that's that over there. And I think that covers our how to bake out our first light mapping as a static light map. So hope you enjoyed this.